Yes, the Beatles. My dad always used to say M&M's and blue jeans.
Oh, did I do that backwards? Gene, oh yeah, 113 was the first one. I think. Now you gotta check. Would you check and see?
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going?
Come into our house of hope and love, of peace and justice, of wholeness and healing. Come in where we welcome the certain and the seeking, the long-timers and the newcomers, the beloved and the brokenhearted. All of you can find a home here at Throop, where we go love the world from the heart of Pasadena and from the heart of our homes. We're so happy to welcome our friends on live stream today. Happy Sunday. Today we turn to the questions that connect us. In Unitarian Universalism, we think this radical idea that the questions are almost always more important, more compelling, more life-sustaining than the answers. Today you'll get to ask your own questions of me about Unitarian Universalism, about Throop, or about faith and spirituality. If you grabbed up an order of worship on your way in, you'll note that there's a little slip of paper in it. And that little slip of paper is a place for you to put your question. And when we have our welcoming each other moment in just a few minutes, if you've already written your question out, you can bring it forward and put it in our question box, which is here on the altar. Also today, after worship, we are loving the world in not one but two ways. You can help us make sack lunches for the Friends Indeed Street Outreach Team. All of that will be set up in Throop Hall, which is just through those doors. Thank you, Jeannie, for coming early and setting it up. And then you can stay a little bit longer after making your sack lunch. And we have someone from Pasadena 100, Cynthia Kennedy, and she's gonna offer a presentation and some conversation about how we can continue to encourage and urge and push, yes, push, Pasadena Water and Power to really commit to 100% carbon-free energy by the year 2030. And so let's just take a deep breath in. And exhale. And as we continue coming together, we are reminded that each one of us is a light in the world, and the flame from our chalice symbolizes and reflects that light.
Our time together in worship is intimately connected with our daily lives. As a symbol of that connection, we light our chalice with a flame from our candles of hope and witness. We seek our place in the world and the answers to our heart's deep questions. As we seek, may our hearts be open to unexpected answers. May the light of our chalice remind us that this is a community of warmth, of wisdom, and welcoming of multiple truths. We light a second candle to honor the people and ancestors whose lands we now occupy. The land under and around Throop is the unceded land of the Gabrielino Tongva Band of Mission Indian people. May this knowledge and awareness lead us into dismantling systems of oppression and supremacy. We light a third candle symbolizing our watershed, the Arroyo Seco. May their waters continue to nourish life in our communities. We take a moment of silence, holding all of these in our hearts.
And may the questions that are alive in our hearts and mind help us to build a new way in this world. And let's sing that into being with our opening hymn, Building a New Way, number 1017 in the teal hymnal. Please rise as body and spirit allow.
We are building a new way.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. Turn gently to a neighbor and welcome them into worship.
We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our need. We can feed our every need.
Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die.
Without these, our world will die.
Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Dig a new way. All right, and thank you, Grooving Pew. You know who you are. I love seeing that. And I saw a few questions that got put into today's question box. Your next opportunity to very unobtrusively sneak down here and put your question in will be in just a few minutes when we sing the children into the Kids Dig In program and into the nursery. And one of life's big questions is, where do we come from? What happens to us when we die? What are the origins of the universe? How did you and how did we come to be? This life that we have is such a miracle. We have this one beautiful planet, this spinning blue-green ball, this planet that is our home. And each Sunday we honor the miracle of life and of our earth by sharing together the words of our promise to our planet, and those words are in the order of worship. As members of the family of living beings on earth, we are guided by the Unitarian Universalist principle of respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. With hearts filled with love for it, eyes nurtured by its beauty, and minds ruminating on ways to protect its sacred and scarce resources, we promise to nurture the well-being of all life and of the planet itself. And this month's congregational response with the responsive reading is, we share a seed story with all creation. Let's say that together. We share a seed story with all creation. And our responsive reading is Try to Love the Questions Themselves by Rilke. Have patience with everything unresolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves as if they were locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. We share a seed story with all creation. Don't search for the answers, which could not be given to you now, because you would not be able to live them. We share a seed story with all creation. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. We share a seed story with all creation. Perhaps then someday, far in the future, you will gradually, without even knowing it, live your way into the answer. We share a seed story with all creation. At every single stage of our lives, we try to make meaning out of who we are and what we do and who we surround ourselves with. And we start asking questions at a really young age. Does anybody remember one of the very first questions you asked as a child? Denise? Okay, Denise wondered why we eat animals. Do other people remember one of your earliest questions? Oh, Steve asked his dad, why is the sky blue? And then Michael, I saw your hand. Michael, yes! Do I really have to eat this? Thank you. And then is that Sawyer in the back? Where does the ocean come from? Exactly. One more out there, anyone? Jeannie, is that your hand? Where? Genies, yeah, where did I come from? We just heard Megan singing that as the prelude today. The questions we ask throughout our lifetimes, they help us understand ourselves. And our questions are an important part of us creating a framework for what we believe about God, what we believe about the sacred, what we believe about living, about dying, and everything in between. And we know these types of questions to be big questions. And if you have been a parent or a guardian or a close friend of a young person, you know that sometimes when that big question comes to you, maybe you feel some fear in your heart because how am I going to answer that correctly? Our church is here to encourage all of us to ask these big questions. We help one another look for answers in all different types of places. Sometimes we find the answers in science. Sometimes we find the answers in the actions and in the words of other people. Sometimes in the awe and wonder of the universe. Sometimes from cultures and religions from all across the world. And of course, sometimes we find the answers right here inside of ourselves. So when some of you came into the worship service today, Faith, our children's program coordinator, gave you a puzzle piece. And I think Faith encouraged you to write a big question or a small question, that puzzle piece. And Faith is going to come around and take those right now. Jean, it is not that piece of paper. Yours is going to come later. Jean. I love that Jean's ready to participate fully, and I thank you for that. And I'm going to switch microphones because this one is beeping, blipping out. All right, so I asked Faith to share what's on these puzzle pieces.
Why did you become a pastor?
Oh, that was a personal question for me. Why did I become a pastor? It happened almost by accident. I thought I was going to be an urban planner. I love the way cities work. I love thinking about how people move around. I love political action. And then I was a member, though, of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and they tricked me into the job that Faith has now. They told me that if I took the job as the children's coordinator, that all I had to do was pass out juice and cookies on Sunday and run a teacher training once a year, and I believe them. Don't ask Faith what we told her. But I got really involved in the church, and I love the children, and I love the high school students, and I realized that it filled up my heart with a passion that I hadn't felt before. And one day my minister looked at me and he said, "Have you ever thought about going to seminary?" And I said, "You clearly don't know what you're talking about, sir." And then 4 years later, there I was in seminary and went through that process. And in 2012, this church was looking for a part-time minister, and I was looking to take my first job as a pastor, and you and I found each other. And here we are in 2023.
Lovely. Who invented shoes?
Ooh, you can answer that one.
I'm not sure. We can Google it later. And there's a second question on here. What do Unitarian Universalists believe?
Ooh. What do Unitarian Universalists believe? Does anybody out there want to say what you believe? Jean says we believe different things. George?
To love nature, to love humanity, and love everything else.
Yeah, George said to love nature, to love humanity, and to love everything else. And I see Steve. And Steve says we believe in questioning our answers. And I like to, along George's lines, you know, in Unitarian Universalism, we talk about us having love at the center of everything we do. And I think that in Unitarian Universalism, we work really, really hard to look at each individual person and really each individual being and to see all of the wholeness and holiness that resides within them.
All right, this next question is rain. And that's all. So could you describe rain, I guess?
Ooh, well, I did just come back from vacation. I was in France. No, I'm not going to talk about it forever. This feels like an existential question that we would need to have like coffee at a Parisian cafe for hours and decide like what's the innate being of rain. And yes, we need rain.
How do you sing? How do you drive? How do I sing? I'm maybe not the person to ask for this one. I'm not much of a singer.
Okay, Megan, do you want to answer? How does one sing?
Do you want the scientific answer or the fuzzy answer? The fuzzy answer. We make sounds and hope that they come out pretty.
Thank you.
And then, yeah, how do you drive?
Defensively, carefully, as little as possible.
All right, and then that's all we have.
Well, thank you all for your questions. And we put them on puzzle pieces because really throughout our lives, these questions, right, they help us as we discover answers and delve into them. They help us put together the puzzle that is our life and helps us make meaning out of it. And so our children will go today with Kate and with Faith into their program, and we sing them into that, and the words are in the order of worship.
For you shall go out in joy, for you shall go out in joy, and come back in peace, and come back in peace. For you shall go out in joy, for you shall go out in joy, and come back in peace, and come back in peace. Blessed be.
Our pondering is Some Questions You Might Ask by Mary Oliver. Is the soul solid like iron, or is it tender and breakable like the wings of a moth and the beak of an owl? Who has it and who doesn't? I keep looking around me, and the face of a moose is just as sad as the face of Jesus. The swan opens her white wings slowly. In the fall, the black bear carries its berries into the darkness. One question leads to another. Does it have a shape like an iceberg, like the eye of a hummingbird? Does it have one lung like the snake or the scallop? Why should I have it and not the anteater who loves her babies? Why should I have it and not the camel? Come to think of it, what about the maple trees? What about the blue iris? What about all the little stones sitting silently in the moonlight? What about roses and lemons and their shining leaves? What about the grass?
Where is our holy church, where race and class unite, as equal persons in the search for beauty, truth, and right? Where is our holy writ, where'er a human heart a sacred torch of truth is lit, by inspiration taught? Where is our Holy One? A mighty host respond. The people rise in every land to break the captive's bond. Where is our Holy Land? Within the human soul, wherever free minds truly seek with character the goal. Where is our paradise? In inspiration's sight, wherein we hope to see arise 10,000 years of right. Where is our holy church, where race and class unite, as equal persons in the search for beauty, truth, and right?
So we turn now to your questions. I expect them to be just as compelling and thought-provoking as the ones we heard earlier. Some of you brought your question slips already down to the question box. Michael Kelly, who is a longtime member of Throop and is also a member of the Board of Trustees. He's going to assist me with this part of the service. So does anyone have a question slip that you wish you had turned in? If you have it, go like this. I see one, and Michael will come take it from you. Question Box Sunday is a little bit of a cultural thing in Unitarian Universalism. Some of you have gone to other Unitarian Universalist congregations, and I'm wondering how many of you have been in a Question Box Sunday before. Oh, nobody? I'm so glad, because that means you can't compare this to any other UU Question Box service, which means this is going to be the best one you've ever been to. Perfect. Bring the whole box, Michael, and bring your whole self up here. And maybe... No, it is. Yeah, take it.
What have we here? Question for you. What is love?
What is love? What a big question. Maybe go with the second one.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. And Michael's also going to be answering some of the questions along with me today. Love for me is this kind of all-encompassing feeling. It lends itself to a sense of belonging, not just belonging to a place, but belonging to a people, feeling a sense of belonging with the sacred, a sense of belonging with me. And there has to be an element of trust and respect and accountability between and among all the parties. Michael, what's love in your world?
Well, a sense of connectedness, lack of separateness, I guess. I think an immediate, unfiltered thought that occurred to me when I heard the question was thinking about our culture, where love is so many things. It's love betrayed, love satisfied, love lost, love found. And I listen to a lot of music every week, and it's about 90% of that music are all of these different thoughts about love. But most often, that's just one kind of love, and there are so many kinds, like the kind that you just spoke about, is not so much in the music. Oh, okay, question. Do you know any good jokes about Unitarian Universalism?
No, I'm a terrible joke person. Do you?
I can't think of a single one this morning, but I will recommend listen to old recordings of Prairie Home Companion, where there used to be Unitarian Universalist jokes nearly every week. I think we had, from the congregation, I think we had a good joke. Great.
How many Unitarian Universalists does it take to screw in a light bulb? Molly asks. Why a light bulb? And Steve knows the answer. I can't capture Steve exactly, but he says, we're not exactly sure, but we're going to put together a group and a committee, and we're going to meet every week for a year, and we're going to figure this thing out.
And it'll be a free and responsible search for the answer to that. Okay. What is the center of your own spirituality?
Yes, the center of my spirituality, I name it as eco-feminist spirituality. And in eco-feminism, there's a belief and understanding that we are all connected. We are connected to each other. We are connected to Earth and all creation. And there's also an acknowledgement and understanding that women and people of color and our earth and so many others have been marginalized and dehumanized for centuries and centuries and centuries, and that you can't unlock those oppressions from one another, and that the perils that we are seeing in our earth right now are linked to the ways women and people of color and other marginalized communities have been harmed for almost ever. And so I find a lot of groundedness and centeredness in connecting with our earth in many different ways, whether it's walking, whether it's cooking my yummy vegan meals, whether it's really just like looking at a butterfly dancing through a garden and just really feeling awe that we are all here. Michael, how about you?
Well, I think we would all have a different answer to that question, and perhaps each of us would have a different answer on different days, depending on when it was asked. What occurred to me right this morning, about myself was maybe that the center of my spirituality is a moment of trying to forget for a moment my regrets about the past and my hopes and fears for the future, and searching for the here and now. Where am I right at this moment? What am I seeing, hearing, and feeling? Brief moments. Let's see here. What is the role of Jesus? Who do we see in the stained glass? In the UU theology.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people come into Throop and are not, maybe not a lot, but some people have said the Jesus imagery in our stained glass feels confusing. So some people come and they think they've arrived maybe at an Episcopal church, and then our worship service confuses them. And then some people know what Unitarian Universalism is, and they're wondering, did we buy this church from some other religious group? What's going on here? I like to think of the Jesus and our stained glass as a really wise human who had a lot of prophetic words and deeds that we can all learn from today. The history of both Unitarianism and Universalism is that they came out of the very progressive left wing of the Christian church in the United States. And so early on, the Universalists and the Unitarians understood Jesus in a more human form and still had Jesus as a big part of their worship service. It's really fascinating to me to look through old prayer books that the Universalists and Unitarians had, and to see like just how important God and Jesus was in the worship services. I've kind of played with the idea of us doing one of their worship services from the old days, but I think some of you would like run out of here, and I don't know if you would come back. Maureen is like, she's yeah. And so, you know, today, Unitarian Universalism, we think of ourselves as a more pluralistic religion, and I think that's the topic of next week's worship service, is pluralism. It's one of the values that we hold. And so, you know, over many decades, Christianity, the influence of Christianity waned some as we began to draw more wisdom from like Buddhism or the Jewish faith tradition or other Eastern religions or earth-based religions. And then also, of course, we have people who identify as atheist, and so they're gonna look for inspiration from more secular text, maybe not so much from religious text, no matter where they come from around the world.
Well, I told Reverend Tara this might get spontaneous, and I'd try to keep her out of trouble. Okay, about me. When I was a little kid, my parents were taking me to a church that was a Jesus-based church. And when I was a real little kid, my image that was given to me, and that I welcomed it, was that Jesus was a really nice person that we little children went and sat in his lap, in our hearts. Later on, I think the first image of Jesus that I encountered that I really accepted, other than that, was reading a book called Jesus, the Son of Man by Khalil Gibran, that presented Jesus as a human being through the eyes of many other people that had encountered Jesus. Later, I traveled very, very far from the image of Jesus, as a savior, into beginning to look at other genders as a symbol, finally to looking at beyond human beings for a symbol of something, to focus on. But if there are so many things that we can fix our eyes on and meditate on and use as a vision, this also works for me, and I think for many Unitarians.
I also think that in today's world where there are groups that actively try to dehumanize entire swaths of people, and they are doing it in the name of Jesus. I think it is so, so important and crucial for us as progressive folks to reclaim some of the Jesus language and to be able to be conversant in it, to not totally shy away from it. I don't think it's right that Jesus gets to be used as a message, a person for, like I said, dehumanizing people and making people feel less than. When I read what Jesus was doing and saying, it was anything but that.
Question. Do we have free will?
Do we have free will? Wow, that's a big question. What does that feel like? Do we have free will? Michael, what do you think about that? Yeah, please, please.
This morning at breakfast, my partner Felicia read me a headline from an article from this week's New York Times, which stated that a group of scientists had determined this week and published the fact that they had determined that we do not have free will. I haven't read that article yet, but wow, it's in the news.
Gosh, and I wonder if those scientists are in dialogue with any theologians about that.
I certainly wonder. I'll let you know.
Okay. I would say in Unitarian Universalism that we do understand us to have free will. But of course, it's not separate from other connections that we have. In youth ministry, we talk a lot about having freedom with responsibility. And so I don't think that any of us are really free to just go out and be however we want to. We have some, I think, community restraints, constraints, accountability to one another. And I think that that is somehow connected to this question of whether or not we have free will in our lives.
I'll see if I can get us into trouble.
Do it.
I think I kind of flunked this question in undergrad school in philosophy class. Didn't study very hard, and I remember they asked us this one. But anyway, I think the question brings another question, because if the question is whether we have free will, then the question is, does the assumption of free will, is that based on our separateness from everything else? The air, the water, the earth, other people? I'm not sure I want to be separate in that way, and so do I really care, I guess, is another question that I can't answer. Question. Could the timing of services be moved earlier than 11? Okay, that's a question. Most churches start at 9:30 a.m. Perhaps something to be considered?
Okay, I hope you put your name on here. There was a place for your name, and I'm giving this to Maureen, the president of your board of trustees. Can it be moved? We have free will to move it. Nobody makes us do anything here. We don't get an edict from on high about what time worship services are. Does your pastor want to have worship service at 9:30 on Sunday? No.
We had a long-time congregant, Zena, who's our dear friend who now lives up in Port Hueneme. She and I entered into a conspiracy, just the two of us, some years ago, to push for 6 p.m. Sunday. Oh, well, it didn't work.
I remember that.
There we go. Okay. Question. What question do you think we should ask, and what is its answer?
A little later in the service, I am turning the tables, and I have a series of questions that I'm going to be asking you all. So it's coming.
myself. I don't have anything profound to say on that one, but I do have my own question this morning, and since I didn't have my pen, I'll just say it, and we can both talk about an answer to it. I'm thinking it's a big country, and there are UU churches all over the country. It's not exactly lonely out here in Pasadena, but how do we get connected and feel connected to all those other congregations around the country?
Great connection question. We have a sibling congregation here in Pasadena, and in the greater Los Angeles area, we have 8 or 9 Unitarian Universalist congregations. And the ministers get together pretty regularly, but our congregants don't really seem to do that. We are part of a region of Unitarian Universalist congregations. It's called the Pacific Western region, and it goes from Alaska over to Hawaii, over to all the way down to Mexico border, all the way to the eastern side of the Rockies. So a little bit difficult for us to all get together. And then every year, Unitarian Universalists from all around the country, they come together at a national conference called General Assembly. And there is a way to participate in that online. If any of you feel excited about getting together with other Unitarian Universalists, it is each June. And my understanding is that next summer, it's actually going to be all online. We did it online during the pandemic, and I think that worked for some, and they're gonna try to do it in a non-pandemic time. We also have an amazing resource to us here in Southern California called Camp de Benneville Pines. How many of you have been up to our camp before? Yes, I knew there were some people in the room. And that's a wonderful way to meet and be with other Unitarian Universalists. They have camps for elementary children, middle school, high school, young adults. They have a family camp, but they also do like a yoga retreat and a choir camp. I think Megan was just up at choir camp and provided leadership there. And they have work weekends, and Wafik has been to the men's weekend that they have, and it's up in the mountains. It's like 6,800 feet, and there's a pool, and there's hiking trails, and they make food for you all weekend, and you don't have to clean it up, and it's really lovely.
That's right.
So I think we're at the last, oh no, we've got 2 more. Okay.
How can we hold on to hope for the future when so much is broken and still breaking under capitalist systems of oppression?
Yeah. Someone who I love to read what she writes is Joanna Macy, and she talks about having an active hope. And it's like a silly hope that's not grounded in anything. It's a hope that requires action. And as I talked about earlier, we have love as the center of Unitarian Universalism. And I think that love really calls us to move and to act and to try to shape the world toward a world in which all are welcome. And it's really, really hard. And I think the past 2 weeks, probably so many of us in here have felt a huge amount of despair about what's going on, and some of us have found ourselves on different sides of issues from family members or friends or loved ones or people in the church, and it's tough. And how do we hold on hope? Honestly, I feel like we come in here and we look in each other's eyes and we remember that we're not all alone and that there are different ways of living, being in the world, and we are doing our best to do that here. And so really being with you all and being your pastor is what keeps me going, and you all give me great hope.
I would just add to that, just do something. For me, like stop worrying about how little it is, just do it. Do something. How about some theology? Shall we do some theology for a moment?
Okay, and I'm
Okay.
glad. This is the last one,
Yeah,
right?
this is the last
Okay.
one. Why is faith in 10 Commandments offensive? Yeah.
Why is having faith in the 10 Commandments offensive? Well, I don't hold that to be offensive myself, so I'm probably not the best person to answer that. Michael, do you?
I said I'd get you into trouble if I could.
Uh-oh, okay.
But anyway, I probably don't remember all of them right exactly at this moment. I'm not seeing a sense in which I've got a problem with any of the 10 this morning. But what I am finding is endless interpretation. Again and again, through my whole life, I'm hearing different ways of hearing the 10 Commandments that I was taught when I was a kid. And to me, those commandments seem like just a very wide open field of questions now. So they're not offensive to me, but they're not simple either.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you all. And Michael, thank you. He just came up here and gave such beautiful answers.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I really enjoyed
if
that.
I could be Ed McMahon, I would want Reverend Tara to be my Johnny Carson.
Oh, what a great compliment! Michael, thank you. Well, this congregation is ours, and we all support it through our gifts of time and talent and treasure. We thank you all so much for all the ways you give to Throop. And if you're able to make a financial contribution this morning, you can do that online. The ways to give are in the order of worship. You can give here in the room, and if you would like your donation to be noted toward your pledge or just noted toward you, we ask that you use the green envelope in the pew in front of you. Thank you so much for all the ways you support our church. The morning offering will now be gratefully received.
Far beyond the grasp of hands, or light to meet the eye, past the reaches of the mind. There find the key to nature's harmony in an architecture so entwined, like the birds whose patterns grace the sky and carry all who join in love expanding. The message of peace will rise in flight, taking the weight of the world upon its wings. In the oneness of everything, peace is in the dance of trees who stir before the first breath of wind is yet perceived. Trust in the song becoming one with the dance. All the mysteries can be believed. Songs of life, song past that touch our own, are written in the earth ever giving. And now to maintain the seek to find a truth that we might understand and reduce to terms defined. Vast and unmeasurable time and space, also overwhelmingly designed. Oh, passing years just might I know the faith that winters in the heart to be reborn in spring, to hear and to feel the pulse of life enters my soul as a song to sing of the oneness of everything.
In a spirit of gratitude, we lift up thanks for all of those who are supporting today's worship service. I would like to thank Terry for serving as a greeter and an usher, Steve for running our live stream, Dre and Matthew for offering chalice, lighting words, Kate and Faith for being with our children's program, Michael for helping me with Question Box Sunday, Megan for all of your wonderful support on music, and Hillary for all of your great administrative support. And so as we give our thanks for the offering, I invite you to share the words that are in the order of service. For the ministries of the church and our community, we bless our offering with love and hope. And I'm going to move right on into the pastoral prayer. So I ask that you all take a gentle breath in and exhale. And take another breath in together. And exhale. Offering gratitude for this moment of stillness we share together. Breath of life and breath of love, we come into this sacred space of love and belonging, our hearts filled with so many questions. Why do humans harm one another? Why do we not learn from previous wars? How can we make a difference? Answers elude us, but we know that all people deserve to be safe. All people deserve to flourish. All people deserve care. And all people deserve lives in which they can stop and stare and appreciate the beauty of the world around them. Today, we ask for our hearts and minds to be open to the perils of the world. We ask to hear the dreams, the dares, the sighs, the prayers. We sit for a moment in shared stillness, sending out our own prayers to all of creation. And for all that is our life, we give our thanks and praise. Amen.
Do you hear, oh my friend, in the place where you stand, through the sky, through the land? Do you hear, in the heights on the plain, in the vale on the main, in the sun, in the rain? Do you hear, through the roar, through the rush, in the throng, in the crush? Do you hear in the hush of your soul, hear the cry fear won't still, hear the heart's call to will, hear a sigh startling trill in your soul, from the place where you stand to the outermost strand? Do you hear, oh my friend? Do you hear, all the dreams, all the dares, all the sighs, all the prayers? They are yours, mine and theirs. Do you hear,
At the very heart of our religious tradition, we continually ask ourselves, what do we hear? What do we hear and understand about the world around us? And central to our faith community is the idea of questioning and seeking and wondering and exploring and even changing our minds when we need to. Now, earlier, you all got a chance to ask me some questions, and I am going to return the favor, and I'm going to ask you all, I think, just one set of questions today, and that is there a question that you wish more people would ask you? Is there a question you wish people would ask you? And I'm going to hope that this works, and I'm going to come out and give a few of you an opportunity to answer. Is this on? Okay. Okay. Denise has her hand up.
Do you need a hug?
There's a question you wish people would ask you. Tom, you nothing? Well, Denise is leaving us with a pretty good one. Oh, Cynthia. This may not travel that far back.
Cindy, would you like to hear less questions?
Oh, would you like to hear less questions? Okay.
What is it about my assumptions about you that are wrong?
I love that. Yeah. Thank you, Ian. And we'll let George, Marissa.
What makes you feel better, and why aren't you doing more of it?
These are good. Is someone scribing and writing these down? I love these.
This is just almost repetitive in terms of what I just heard from Marissa. What makes you happy?
And what makes you happy? Very good. Well, we close out today's Question Box Sunday with our closing hymn. It's We Laugh, We Cry. It's number 354, and I invite you all to rise and sing as you are able. Number 354.
We laugh, we cry, we live, we die, we dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something there to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need close friends we can call our very own. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found our need to be together. We have our hearts to give. We have our thoughts to receive. And we believe that sharing is the answer. Verse 4. We seek elusive answers to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the waste of human strife. We search for truth and quality, that blessed peace of mind. And then we come together here to make sense of what we find. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found our joy in being together. And in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see, even to question truly is an answer. Place a hand on your heart and reach another out to someone in the room or on the live stream. Our chalice is extinguished. We carry its light with us. May you live into all of the questions that are alive in your heart in the days to come. I love you all. Go out and love the world. Help us make sack lunches and then stay for the presentation by Pasadena 100. Amen and blessed be.